Hello everybody. So a lot has come to me in the last few weeks, so here's my next little video. I'm on the 5th day of my next fast. This will be the last one for this year and the third long one this year. And what a year, amazing, life changing. I got my life back. So I'll share more about how this fast is going as it progresses and gives me the next information. But in the 2 weeks before this fast, I was traveling in this country and abroad with my work, which I'm very grateful to be part of. And I had this feeling, I'm going to be doing a long fast again soon. So actually, for these 2 weeks, I'm going to indulge all I want in all the foods, all the flavours, the foods I don't usually eat. I don't eat junk food at all anymore, but I don't usually eat things like bread and cheese that block up the body. But I felt this energy, and I feel now a spaciousness in my body and also a much more grounded state of mind, that I have a little bit of leeway to play with things. So I just went for it. I really pushed the boundaries of overindulging in the mucus foods, breads, potatoes, halloumi, and thoroughly enjoyed every mouthful of it. And I called this the chapter of retoxing, and it became a very, very interesting one, a very interesting experiment, and I'm really glad that I did it. One thing that I have really gained from cleaning my body this year is a huge increase in sensitivity. And I feel there's two types of sensitivity. There's the one where someone's perfume or something is too strong and we feel nauseous, or really sensitivity to other energies and things. But this sensitivity that is increasing in me is more of awareness of every cell in my body, and also really being able to feel into other people's bodies, and almost being able to feel like vibrationally which organs are not working, and how the lymphatic system is, and how the kidneys are. So it's been really, really huge, and I think it's pointing me in the direction of, at the right time, being able to offer this assistance to help people with their health more solidly. But let's see what the future unfolds. But anyway, what this sensitivity brought me in my chapter of retoxing was, first I became aware that my kidneys stopped their main function, which is filtering the toxins, and they became blocked up, so they just did their very, very basic function. Then I became aware that my lymphatic system became blocked again, and what I'm recovering from in my healing is a very blocked lymphatic system, so it's just beginning to move, so it was quite fast to block it back up again. But very interesting that this happened in 2 weeks. Then I was aware that my digestive system was getting really sluggish and all yucky. And then my heart palpitations came back. Tinnitus came in my ears, very strong, very loud. Then I was aware that there was like a film over my eyes, and my eyesight was deteriorating a little. And this is just in 2 weeks. Can imagine, how my body became so sick from a lifetime of this, even from birth. My body was quite compromised. So that was so super interesting. I also I just stopped having any interest or energy to do my morning practice of my lymphatic moving exercises. And I was in good form, but I just generally became more sedentary from these foods, from eating the mucus-forming foods, which is also really interesting. And it just reminds me that when we unburden the body of all this, like, of just so much sewage and acid and waste that all our bodies have, that there's such a natural rush of energy that we can't help but be energetic. So that was really interesting to witness. And the other thing was that I felt I was putting on weight, as one does when one overindulges. And as I was feeling the body a bit heavier than I've become to know it in this year, it was like, oh, it's just weight. And something just really clicked in me, that the weight I had been carrying all these years before, all these decades, the reason I was so uncomfortable in it was not because I was trying to be like the women in the magazine. And I know a lot of female friends relate to this as well, that there's more to it carrying this weight than it just being unsightly in the eyes of society for a woman to be heavier. Well, from most eyes anyway. But that the weight I had put on in the past was all from emotional eating, from stuffing down grief and pain and emotions, and everything stuffed down stays in the system, so that's what I was carrying in that weight. And obviously when I was fasting, all of that grief and pain had to come back up, so that was mostly happened during my first fast, and that was very challenging but immensely healing. And as I felt into this weight gain from my retoxing chapter, so interesting, there wasn't any pain or self-judgment or unworthiness or even feeling ugly attached to it. And I realized it was because this weight was put on through pure joy of just enjoying flavors and foods, pure joy. But saying that, there was creeping in towards the end of the retoxing, a sense of emotional eating. So that was really, really interesting. So decided to start this fast with a colonic. I'll be doing so many enemas this year, but the colonic is next level, and I've only had one of them years and years ago. So yeah, it was super, super intense. It was quite painful, and I wanted to switch off the machine when the woman wasn't there. But I stuck with it, and I definitely felt the energetic release from that was quite amazing, and I'll go for another one next week and see how it is, see how that goes. I feel like for most of the colonic, the water ran out clear and nothing was being released, and I don't think it's because I'm sparkly clean inside. Not that I'm being like really hypochondriac about having to be perfectly clean, but I feel the colonic reaches much deeper than the enemas, and the stuff there's also the emotional attachment inside my body and my cells that wasn't ready to let that go. So we'll just see how that goes later. And as I was driving a few days ago, I was remembering that when I was younger, I just went to university and I studied business in this really dull, concrete business university. I was not meant to be there in any way except to learn what I really, what's not for me, to really, really learn that lesson. Some of us have to learn lessons the hard way, and that was my path. And these years there, they killed me. They quenched my spirit and my soul. But anyway, that's a good 10 years ago at least, and pretty much recovered from that. And in the last few years, as I've begun to kind of find myself and search really for my purpose, I've been feeling, I've been getting interested in health, and I've been feeling that I'd really love to study again something. But the thought of like the 4 years or whatever commitment to study something, and being in a foreign country, it would cost me tens of thousands of dollars to study over here. I was always feeling like it's got to be something that I'm like super committed to and super interested in to commit that amount of time, and I could never find exactly what it is for me to study. And as I was driving, I realized I am studying now. I am back in university, except my new degree that I'm studying is my body, is the human body. And that chapter of retoxing, and the sensitivities I could feel of organs and systems shutting down and getting blocked up, and moving back into fasting, and immediately all that weight that I felt I put on disappeared, and it was actually just inflammation caused, I would say, mostly by bread, by wheat. And the study, one of the reasons I'm doing this fast now, because I'm not very sick anymore, although I want to continue healing this body, is that I am so extremely interested. I am so deeply interested in this whole path of what happens us, a human being, when we begin to move on to the foods that are meant for our species, which is mostly the fruits. What happens when we move on to this? What happens when we clear away all this stagnant, stinking sewage that's in our body? And believe me, even a lovely girl like me, the stuff that's come out, oh good God, it has shocked the hell out of me. And it has such emotional attachment, all this stuff, you know, it's been created in really hard times in my life and times of confusion. And also each fast that I've done this year, I've done a 28-day, a 21-day and a 5-day. In each of these fasts, I have cleared something absolutely enormous in the non-physical plane. I've cleared, in my first fast, I cleared poverty consciousness, and now I feel abundance coming into my life in regards to income and my career path. The second fast, I cleared unworthiness. And now I don't even plug into that plane anymore. You know, it's just, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't exist. It's just something I collected. And my third fast, even the 5-day fast, brought up an enormous body image issue. It was so huge what came up. And that cleared into such a deep self-acceptance and this feeling that wisdom is what heals body image issues, by accessing my own like deep medicine woman, elder woman. It clears what I had picked up of projections of how my body should look like this and that. So that's one of my interests for this current fast, is what non-physical issue, maybe, I can't say this fast will be the same as all the others, they're all so different, but what non-physical issue could possibly be cleared from my life right now? And it's very interesting, even what's brewing in me right now. In the early days, I felt, before each issue cleared, first I became almost overwhelmed by the energy of the issue, absolutely overwhelmed and almost like crazy, mental. I became the issue, it became me, and slowly it passed, and then in retrospect I could see how that all happened. So yeah, just what's coming up at the moment is just this fear of the really mad people in this world, the fear of minds that are twisted into evil and hate and destroying one another, and even in the people in my day-to-day life, not my loved ones, my nearest and dearest. Well, who knows? All of us are a bit mad, and I include myself very deeply in that. But beyond the kind of hi, how you doing, and the loving interaction, you know, there's just so much pain and grief in everyone. So that's been coming up a lot for me, about that. And also I've had some experiences with some divine beings where I've just felt the beyond words communication of, I let you see all of me and you let me see all of you, and this Wow, each time I have a connection like this, I almost need time to integrate the magnificence of this. So I don't feel any feelings that this world is doomed or anything like that. I feel there's so many incredible beings here. But that's what's coming up, and it'll be interesting to see what that moves on to as this fast deepens. One other thing that I became aware of in my retoxing chapter is that I don't any longer crave sugary things. I used to always have every day at least half a bar of organic dark chocolate, so it's healthy, I believed. And if I was out and about doing shopping or on my way home from kind of a draining job, I would always pop into the shop and get a little healthy treat or some more organic dark chocolate. And always sweetness was my thing. And these days I have no interest in sugary things at all. Like, I had to force myself to taste these amazing cakes recently, and after I tasted them I was like, oh, that's not food. No, sugar is not food. My sweet thing these days is dried dates and figs, and I eat them a lot, and I always have a bag of them with me. And I have experienced how deeply they remineralize the body and the bones. I have experienced that they have helped remineralize my bones to an extent, and my teeth, the little cavities that were forming in my teeth, have healed, and my long-term receding gums are beginning to grow back. And I believe that's both from fasting and cleaning out a lot of acids, and then rebuilding with foods that heal the body. Yeah, so back to the cravings. I realize I'm really craving salty things. I don't put salt on food anymore, because I feel when I put salt on food that throws my body out of balance. But definitely my cravings were more for salty things, savory things. And I was just tuning into that, and I really believe that the sugary cravings are from Candida, because it's the Candida saying, feed me, feed me. And we continue to feed the Candida. And I've done quite a bit of work before my first fast in the transition chapter that I had, and throughout my first fast, which really cleared quite a bit of the Candida. And I honestly don't even recognize myself that I don't carry the bar of chocolate around anymore. I have no interest in the sugar. The craving's just gone, and I truly believe that when a body is in balance, we don't have cravings. We have intuitive eating. I'll just get back to that in a second, because what I felt about the savory cravings is because salt is a stimulant. And we might not be drinking heaps of coffee or having cacao or black tea or other stimulating things, but that salt is actually a stimulant, and many of us crave salty foods. This is not really because our body is needing the salt, but it's because our adrenals are depleted and it's needing a stimulant. And particularly on my travels in those 2 weeks of retoxing, there was quite a few late nights, and my adrenals were definitely fatigued. And I was craving a lot of salty stuff, and I was just aware, yeah, wow, that's the adrenals are craving the salt. So that's my other theory on this. That's on the sweet and savory cravings, that it's the adrenals and Candida. Yeah, so I have been experiencing more and more as I clean out my body that I don't have cravings anymore as such. Cravings that almost seem a bit neurotic, like I need chocolate or I need this salty thing. What I've had more of between my first and second fast, like I had to have tomatoes and I was searching for tasty tomatoes, and I couldn't get enough of them. I was eating like 3 or 4 big tomatoes every day, and I feel like that would be more under intuitive eating, that there was something in those tomatoes that my body really needed. I can't imagine myself, if I was ever craving or I guess another craving is the emotional craving to unconsciously or consciously stuff down our numb emotions, which, you know, we might not even be aware of. This might be why we're craving lots of bread or cakes or heavier foods, is to stuff down the emotions. And I was having a little laugh that I couldn't imagine myself like craving tomatoes to stuff down some sorrows. So yeah, I do believe I'm starting to tune in more intuitively about foods, which is really, really interesting and really helpful as a guide to what to eat for where my body is right now. So that's really interesting, and look forward after this fast to seeing where I am in regards to food. But yeah, just allowing that retoxing chapter, kind of allowing myself to follow the flow of energy that was saying eat these foods, you know, just indulge, just rather than being hard on myself about it, knowing that it's just an energy and it will pass. That's been really great, and I'm so glad I did it. And obviously by the time it came to start my fast a few days ago, I was so ready. Like, my body was actually starting to feel quite shit. Yeah, you know, when we use food as fun, it's not fun for our body, and I feel we can get away with it to a point. Or else we may think we're getting away with it, but we have completely forgotten how good it is to feel in this body, how good this body can feel. Because when we use food as fun, you know, our body does suffer. It becomes a burden on our body, and wow, can the body take a lot. It is so incredible. I'm so grateful my body has withstood all the abuse and all the enormous amount of food and crap and alcohol and everything I've put in it over the years. Yeah, and you know, using food as fun, it's part of how we connect. It's part of all the cultures over the world that we meet over food. I can't imagine there being a party or a Christmas gathering or a celebration without food being really one of the main focuses of it. And yeah, I do agree that food is a pleasure. It's such a pleasure, and I'm not aiming to be a Puritan or completely fruitarian or breatharian or anything like that. Like, I love the pleasure of food, but really during fasting it reminds me that the problem only comes with food as a pleasure is when it becomes our main pleasure in life. When we wake up in the morning, we're looking forward to breakfast, and we're looking forward to lunch, and we're looking forward to dinner. And I find fasting journey really helps retune me into where actually I really need pleasure beyond food. You know, what parts of me really need pleasure, and how depleted, you know, those parts are, those energetic parts. And it clears the blockages, the unworthiness and the body image blockages, for me to be able to walk forward and to call into my life the other pleasures that I need and the adventures that I need to be able to manifest them. Yeah, so I feel, you know, this path of health, it's not really that I'm saying the path of health is just about detoxing. I feel ultimately the path of health is the path of finding total balance. And especially in the area I live, it's really new agey, you know, so there's a lot of spiritual quacks around the place, and a lot of people all into the angels and chakras and everything, and that's all good. It's a good start, definitely. There's many planes to work on, but I feel we are in a body, and you know, at a certain point in time we won't have a body anymore. And you know, you hear people speaking about when we leave the body, we return to absolute bliss. We leave the burdens of a painful, achy, heavy body of all the pains and worries and stresses of life, and we just return to this absolute bliss. And what I'm beginning to experience, just like solid 9 months into this journey, a solid committed 9 months into this journey, I've been drinking up information every day that I can. And what I'm beginning to experience is a body that is beginning to feel quite ecstatic a lot of the time. And I am feeling very happy, very, very happy most days. And I begin to wonder, and I begin to believe that perhaps it is our natural state of being to be happy most of the time. And I'm not saying that I don't have stressful times and challenging times and challenging people and relationships and money challenges and worries about friends and family who are sick and need help. But I can still be happy in myself, in my days. And I have just experienced in me personally that a huge chunk of my unhappiness has left my system, has left my life, as I have cleaned out a lot of shit and acids and toxins and mucus from my body, and as I have began a morning practice of doing exercises that help the lymphatic system move, because the lymphatic system is like the waters in our body. And most of us maybe have heard that there's been studies with waters that there was Dr. Emoto, he's done studies where there was 2 glasses of water and one was given love and one was given hate, and it showed the frozen molecules of water, the ice flakes of the water, and the one that was given love was so absolutely beautiful, like a mandala, and the one that given hate was all misshapen in a different shape. So the waters do hold memory of energies and emotions, and our lymphatic system is our waters, and that is just holding all of the emotions and energies that we have taken in. So part of getting the lymphatic system moving again is actually getting all this stuff to circulate and move through the body. So it can be quite intense at the start, as I experienced a lot during my first fast. I had many times of just curling up in bed, crying my guts out, so hard, but really, really good cries. And so every morning I do my lymphatic movement exercises to get just that flowing, and these are very different movements to yoga or running or going to the gym. There's specific gentle movements to get the lymphatic system flowing. I do feel that ultimately this path of detox is a path to find balance on all levels, because this path is choosing to focus on the body, the holder of the soul, and it's been really, really interesting and really humbling. I've had crazy disordered eating since I've been about 10, and part of the reason I didn't want to start fasting when I knew a fast was going to be really beneficial, but I was really scared of this eating disorder flaring up again, because I had just found balance in my eating, and it didn't flare up after the first fast, but it flared up after the second fast. And something also interesting is when I started the second fast, I was so hungry all the time throughout that fast, and the eating disorder flared up after. Whereas in my other fast, and in this one, I'm in the 5th day, I haven't felt any hunger yet. True hunger, which is amazing. But it flared up after that second fast, and it lasted about 3 weeks of quite intense overeating. And then it passed, and then I felt quite balanced again in my food. And it's just showing me that we can't really find balance from decades of being out of balance just through one fast, or just through um, 6 weeks of eating healthy. For some of us, that's enough for where we want to be and where we want to go with our lives. But for some of us, and for me, I have this calling to deep, deep balance within myself. I have a calling to be just in balance with my body, my emotions, my heart, my energy. And this journey has just really humbled me and shown me that sometimes things flare up on this path of detox, and rather than making a big deal about it, it's just showing that the path of balance it's a path. It takes time, and it's honestly taken me I would say until around 7 or 8 months of this journey to begin to taste what balance is in my body. Those first few months, I was saying, I knew it. I knew all this fasting, starving yourself is going to throw the metabolism out, and I just knew it. I knew it was rocking me because I felt very shaky after these fasts and very kind of unbalanced towards food. But what I'm learning now, as I'm learning so much more on this path, is that the fast didn't knock me out of balance. I was already out of balance. If anything, it just brought to the surface to show my imbalance. I don't believe fasting does harm to the metabolism. I did believe that in the past, years ago, when I was trying like little fasts, but I didn't understand the art of fasting. I was just trying juices for a week or whatever. And then I would find afterwards I was putting on weight eating even the smallest amount of food. And I did believe that, oh my God, my fasting experiment has slowed down and like messed up my metabolism. I completely don't believe that now. I think if anything, we are messing up our metabolism with our stimulants and our go lifestyle and always busy. We are speeding up our metabolism, and it only has a certain amount of fuel until the metabolism decides, okay, this person has lived their life because they've speeded it up. So I believe that fasting, yeah, it slows down the metabolism, but it slows it down to a healthier rate, where we actually don't need as much food to be healthy and thriving. And that means also that we live a life not burdening the body. So it's a journey. It's such a journey, and forever unfolding with so much miraculousness. So much. And finally, I just wanted to speak a little bit about that. To really heal the body, we can go on just suffering in a body that feels uncomfortable and not great. And I know that part of this is because, well, I didn't know that what I ate affected me until I was 27. I would even sometimes have an extremely swollen belly after eating and not even think that that's to do with what I just ate. So most of us just continuing to suffer in a sick body is just because there's very little information out there. Doctors do not know about detox as a solution for health. They just pay no attention to the lymphatic system, except when the lymphatic system. I'll just explain briefly that the blood is like the kitchen of our body. It brings the food to all our cells and the nutrients. The lymphatic system is the sewage system of our body. So that carries out all the waste. And when we eat over years and decades the mucus forming foods, these foods stagnate and block up our lymphatic system, and it can no longer carry out the waste, so it has to pack this waste into the cells. And a lot of this waste is acids from the foods. A lot of these mucus forming foods leave an acid residue in the body, so all these acids pack into the body and into the cells. And once in a while, one of the lymph nodes of the body just becomes so blocked from all these foods, it becomes so blocked it cannot do its job, and it begins to swell up. And some lymph nodes that we're definitely aware of are tonsils and appendix. And most of us, a lot of us, have had a tonsils or appendix removed. I had my tonsils chopped out. I think I was probably about 13 or so, which now I know was because my body was very blocked up back then, and my lymphatic system was blocked up. So the doctors, all they know is that if something's not working, we chop it out. But my goodness, the damage and extra burden to our system to have a very important filtering of toxins, part of our system, chopped out is huge. I feel that a lot of the gum problems I had was possibly because I've had my tonsils removed, and possibly this impacted on filtering the waste and the acids from my head area. I'm not entirely sure, that's just a theory. But getting the appendix chopped out can really affect the lymphatic drainage in the colon. So it's quite barbaric when we begin to learn like the true path of health, the state that the medical system is in for the most part. And I totally do agree that there's a time and a place for the medical system and for pharmaceuticals. If we're becoming completely overwhelmed with the symptom, which I was with my heart, I needed to go to hospital, and that put me in a place to be able to kind of chill a little bit, to then find the path to actually heal things. But yeah, so doctors just don't know about it. And I have a very, very, very loved one in my life, and I remember her always having kidney problems and chronic fatigue and terrible gum issues, and the doctors just filling her with antibiotics one after the other, and then just telling her that it's all in her head, and it clearly wasn't in her head. What it was deep lymphatic stagnancy and deep toxicity and acidity in her body, and and how she has suffered for so many years with that. And it's very, very sad. It's very sad. And also friends and loved ones in my life whose bodies are suffering, and they're still so deeply conditioned. The doctors already say they don't know what else to do, just more antibiotics. And they're so deeply conditioned that the thought to detox the body just seems crazy to them. So I just plant little seeds, but I would never push someone, because I know there's so much emotions behind things as well. I would never push anyone, just be loving support. And if someone would really like support, I'm so fully there for them, from the passion I've gained from my own journey. So just the last thing I wanted to share about is that, so those people who have heard a little bit about my journey, and their body is sick, and they're like, okay, so I'll have a bit of grape juice now and then, and I'll eat a bit more fruit, and they're not really seeing any results, is just because it doesn't work if we just put good stuff on top of bad stuff. I mentioned earlier that detoxing is an art, and where I had gone wrong in the past was just thinking that a detox, like a true detox, was just having juices for a week, fasting for a week or whatever. But what was happening is that my elimination, the gateways of elimination, which is the skin, the kidneys, the colon, and there's one more that I can't remember. Anyway, they're the main ones. These were not open. And so although through just being on the juices my body was releasing all this waste, not much could actually leave my body, so it just went back in afterwards. So really the art of detox that I've been learning is doing some practices to actually help remove the toxins and the waste that's coming out, and to actively help restore these organs as well. So that's super interesting. And so a lot of people who are just trying to like eat a little bit more fruit, but they're still having the bread and the meat and the dairy, and they don't see much results. There's a beautiful story that my beautiful sister Alex from Living Mucus Free always says, that if you were to renovate a house, you would not just slap new plaster on top of the old plaster, and you wouldn't put down new floorboards under the old floorboards. You would first strip the house, and then you would rebuild it with all the good stuff, and then you will have an amazing, long-lasting, gorgeous house. And that's the same with healing the body. This is supplement-based thinking, to think that if our body is sick, we just throw in some vitamins or some minerals. It'll work to a point, but for true healing, it really requires chapters of digging in deeper to strip down the old, and then rebuilding with the good stuff, the stuff that's going to carry us through this life without pain and without fatigue and without disease. So I'll leave it at that for now. Sending so much love, and it's so amazing that I see a few friends have kind of jumped on this fast as well, and we're just doing it together, and we're all raiding the local supermarkets of grape juice. So yeah, it's really beautiful now to have a more, expanding group of friends doing this in our life, and I really look forward to just this closeness of supporting each other, particularly after the fast and what we go through, and because we all learn different things that we can all support each other with. So very, very interesting. Interesting is my new word at the moment. It's really interesting. So with that, I'll leave you with the message of so much love, and with the blessing to live your nectar.